What's up, YouTube? My name is ZuriKey. And wake up in the morning, man, I'm feeling kinda blessed. My name is ZuriKey and boy, I am too fresh. Man, you think my name is linked the way I be opening chests. And I spin back on Ganon, forgetting and weighing my quest. Like, you see these small keys, you see these rupees. Guess what? I run up on in and stole these. I smash pots, take cash, no mercy. But then I save Hyrule, so don't worry. Yeah. King of Hyrule, boy, who you playing with? Mess with me? Come on now. There are many philosophical questions in this lifetime that, despite the human race's longevity and staying power on this planet, we as a society and as a species have never really been able to find the answers for. Is everything that happens in our day-to-day lives just a matter of chance? Or does fate really exist and every little minute thing we do, like spilling a glass of water, happen for a reason? What is our true purpose of being on this place called Earth that, in the grand scheme of things, is a tiny speck of dust in our solar system? Does free will really exist? Do we actually have a choice in the actions we take on a day-to-day basis? Or some higher power making all of our choices for us? What is Zelda? I can answer one of those. Okay, stop me if you've heard this before. To say The Legend of Zelda is a monumental video game series would be a massive understatement. Okay, I know, but really, it would almost feel redundant to really try to put into words the impact that Zelda has had on gaming because, man, you already know that. I'm sure you at least know of Zelda and what it is, even if you haven't played the games. Zelda is a game series I've noticed that really can evoke some strong emotions in people that are super hard to put into words. There aren't that many game series that can truly immerse players into their world like Zelda can and always has. Even if you're like me and haven't really played a ton of Zelda, you still understand why it's so famous and what it did for the gaming industry as a whole. You just get it. Every Zelda game that I've personally played in my lifetime has left me with a long-standing impression, and to be honest, I've only ever really played a handful. Even though I've always been more of a Mario guy, Zelda does still mean a lot to me because I did grow up playing at least some of the games. Bottom line is, people love Zelda and they'll let you know that they love it too. I mean, you would know that if you went to Target. Women only want one thing and it's disgusting. Created by the same mastermind behind Super Mario and Star Fox, Shigeru Miyamoto, Zelda games are actually quite different from what you would expect from the main man behind the Red Plumber himself. It's got open worlds with dungeons and upgrades and puzzles and riddles and dialogue. A lot of dialogue. As cliche as it sounds, speaking from experience, when you play a Zelda game, it makes you feel like you're literally a part of that world, going on an adventure with our main character, Link. Get it? Because he's the link between the game and the player? Okay, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. But of course, we gotta see where the series got its beginnings to truly appreciate where it is right now. The OG Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo Entertainment System, released on February 21st, 1986. Now, even though this game came out on cartridge in America, in Japan this was a launch title for the Famicom Disk System, an add-on for the Famicom, the Japanese version of the NES, that enhanced the capabilities of the original system. There's actually not too many differences between these two versions. The biggest difference is that the Disk System was more capable of sound than the regular Famicom and NES were. So this version of Zelda 1 does sound a lot more involved than its cartridge counterpart. Besides that though, these are the exact same game, so it doesn't really matter which version you play. I must say, this game has a lot to live up to, man. You're telling me that this is the beginning to one of the greatest gaming series of all time? It better be good, man. Wasting my time with this bullcrap. This is way above my pay grade. Now, everyone knows that Zelda as a series has a ton of lore. As the games went on, the stories just kept getting more and more involved, but every Zelda game follows the same guidelines for who is who and who does what, if that makes sense. But the plot of Zelda 1 was so short that they were able to fit it all on one screen. Alright. Long ago, Ganon, Prince of Darkness, stole the Okay, we're not doing that. Long ago, Ganon, Prince of Darkness, stole the Triforce of Power. Princess Zelda of Hyrule broke the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 pieces and hid them from Ganon before she was kidnapped by Ganon's minions. Link, you must find the pieces and save Zelda. So yeah, as Link, we gotta find the 8 pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom and then defeat Ganon so we can take the Triforce of Power from him and then link the two together. Get it? Link the two together?
Oh, brother, this guy
One thing this screen does not bring up is Impa. Impa is a very important character in this series, and her first appearance was actually in this game, which you wouldn't know by just playing it, as she's only ever brought up in the manual. Basically, Zelda told Impa to find someone courageous enough to defeat Ganon before she got kidnapped. And Impa was like, alright, bet. And she found some random kid and told him to do it. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, usually in Zelda games, the Triforce is split into 3 parts. Hence the Tri part of Triforce. We have the Triforce of Power, Triforce of Wisdom, but not the Triforce of Courage yet, but we'll see that incorporated in later games. But in this game, there's only 2, I guess? You think Nintendo can count? So, here we are, plopped in the middle of a field with an entire world to explore. What do I do? Coming from playing more modern Zeldas, you'd be used to having to figure out most of where you needed to go, but you would get help from like some NPCs with dialogue or some story exposition or something like that. In this game though, man, you just gonna have to figure it out. This game all takes place on one big map, and let's just say it can be very easy to get lost here, especially on your first time. My first time playing, I had to repeatedly Google the map just so I knew how to get to where I needed to be. But I mean, on the first screen, obviously you gotta go in there. Meet this old man and you get your first sword. Now your sword is your main weapon, but you can also carry many accessories like bomb, a bow and arrow, a boomerang, etc. Now Zelda split the Triforce into 8 pieces, and all 8 of those pieces have been spread out between 8 dungeons that Link will have to get through. Most of the accessories you find either hidden in dungeons or you can purchase them with rupees, this game's main currency. You find these by just killing enemies in the overworld. If it's your first time playing this game, I strongly recommend you save up on rupees. There are many shops around the overworld that sell useful items, but some of these you should not buy, as you can find these items just laying around outside. But there are certain items you need to buy, so that's just why I say save up. The biggest upgrade in this game that will make your playthrough so much easier is the blue ring. Save up 250 rupees, which yeah, I know sounds pretty bad, and you can buy the blue ring, which reduces the damage done by enemies by half, and it turns Link's tunic blue, which is pretty cool. It's by no means required, but if you want to beat this game, you better buy it, so it is required. Along with that, Link can also upgrade his sword once he has enough hearts. You start off with 3 hearts, but as you play, you will stumble across many heart containers that will add 1 to your life bar. For the first sword upgrade, the white sword, you need 5 hearts, and for the final sword upgrade, the magical sword, you need 12. Honestly, if you're skilled enough, you can get all these upgrades before you even tackle the first dungeon, which at this point in the game isn't necessarily needed, but I mean, it is something you can do. I usually go for the blue ring around the 4th dungeon because I feel like that's when difficulty really ramps up in this game. But 250 rupees, man, that's kind of a steep price. I know that sounds bad, but there are a lot of secret passageways hidden on the overworld that can give you a lot of rupees. Only problem is that all of these secret passageways are very hard to find if you don't already know where they are. Like, usually you'd have to burn a bush and then a secret stairway will show up, but like, nothing about this bush would make me think that there's something to be had here. It's just a bush. How am I supposed to know that if I set fire to this specific bush, I'll get a reward? Yeah, you know all these bushes all over the land? Yeah, burn this specific one for a reward. Yeah, so Zelda 1 does not do the greatest job of showing you what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go. You're mostly left to figure that out on your own. Yeah, so many people will say Zelda 1 is almost impossible to play without a guide of some sorts, and I won't lie, my first time playing, I did look up a few YouTube videos when I got stuck. For the most part, I tried playing this game on my own, but in a game like this, it really cannot be helped. I don't know how any kid in the 80s was able to get to the end of this game by themselves. That would take an astronomical amount of time that, let's be real, you don't have. But I will say the dungeons in this game are a lot better with that, and they are my favorite aspect of this game. By going into rooms and killing bosses, you collect small keys that allow you to unlock doors and generally find your way around where you need to go. Much better than the overworld. A lot of times you'll have to use bombs to blow up a wall and find a secret passageway, which I think is a super neat aspect of these dungeons, and that kind of makes you think twice. The reason I'm cool with this and not this is that it's much easier to infer that, oh hey, I'm in a dungeon with these doors that are always in the center of the wall, so maybe there's a door right here where there isn't a door. You place a bomb there and bam, there you go. That's good design, and that's rewarding a player for thinking outside of the box. But that's not to say these dungeons don't have their moments. You'll find these rooms where this old man will give you super vague but I guess somewhat useful hints of where you need to go in the dungeon, but they're not useful all the time. Grumble, grumble.
Grumble? Grumble, 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 grumble. Grumble. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Grumble! Grumble, 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 grumble. Grumble, grumble.
What? What am I supposed to gain from this? Grumble? Grumble? What could this possibly mean? Oh, silly me, it means I have to go, leave the dungeon, buy a pork chop for 60 rupees, and come back and give it to this guy. Ah, of course. Like, how could I not know that? That's my bad, game. Actually, no, I should have known that. Like, that's actually my bad. No, like, yeah, no, you're good. All jokes aside, these dungeons are great for the most part. They can get really hard at some points, especially in the later dungeons, but most of these enemies won't give you too much of a hard time, except for the Wizdrobes. These guys teleport everywhere and they're annoying and they give me a hard time, and you know, I'm putting them on the list. Wizdrobes and Darknuts are the two main enemies that you really need to watch out for in these dungeons. They can be super tricky. Make your way through each dungeon, killing the bosses at the end of each, and soon enough you'll have a fully complete Triforce. Now, all that's left is to go up to Death Mountain and save Zelda. This final dungeon is hell. Okay, so I expected this game to incrementally get harder as you progress, but if I were to graph the difficulty levels of each dungeon, it would look something like this. Massive difficulty spike here. I mean, look at the map. It's a skull with all of these blue squares representing separate rooms in the dungeon. And would you believe me if I told you that more than half of these rooms you don't need to go through? In this dungeon, there are two really main important items that you need to pick up. First is the red ring, which gives Link a red tunic and also allows him to take a quarter of damage, which sounds pretty cool, but in this dungeon, boy, that does not mean a thing. Second is the blue arrow. This item right here is your ticket to beating the game, so please make sure you don't forget to find this when you play through this dungeon. Somehow find your way through this literal death maze and you'll meet Ganon. The trick is to just keep swinging your sword around in the general vicinity of where you see these little blasts coming from, and you'll eventually strike Ganon. He spends most of the boss fight invisible though. Then, once you've hit him enough times, he'll turn red. Now you need to shoot that blue arrow at him to truly finish him off. If you didn't pick up the blue arrow, you poor soul. And just like that, you meet Princess Zelda in the next room and connect the two Triforce pieces together. Yeah, okay, nice Triforce you got there. Man, I should have called it Biforce. I'm sorry. And that's it. That was the first entry in The Legend of Zelda. Now, what did I think? Despite how much I say about its faults, this is still a really good game. It's one of the better titles for the NES, and they did a lot of things right here. This game visually looks great for an early NES title. Link's sprite is amazing, really well designed. This style of action-adventure games was very new at the time, and Zelda definitely pulled it off somewhat. And of course, this is the first game in the series, so of course they weren't going to make an absolute masterpiece, but those are to come very soon, and without Zelda 1, we wouldn't have said masterpieces to discuss.
As for now though, I'd have to give this game a 7 out of 10. I must say, it is impossible to play this game without a guide. If you are planning on doing a first time playthrough, please by all means use a guide. You will not get through the game if you don't.
This game's biggest problem is its lack of direction for the player, which I'm very glad to say is a problem that didn't stick around too long in the Zelda franchise. Other than that, man, this game is a classic. And I say this whenever I talk about a first entry in a franchise, but yeah, this game just has not perfected the Zelda formula yet. But what even is the Zelda formula? Well, we'll find out next time when we review Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link.
Oh, hold on guys, I'm getting a call. 1 second. Hello?
We heard what you said about us. We do not take kindly to disrespect. Watch your back, ZuriKey.
To be continued. Never.